You're listening to DruidCast episode 207. Hello my friends and welcome to DruidCast episode 207. I am your host Dave the Bard, and DruidCast is brought to you on or around the 20th of the month by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. If you want to find out more about membership to the Order and our courses, you can do that at our website, which is at druidry.org. What an opening to the show. That was Tao Wei from Spiritworks, the debut EP from Dovan. Dovan's enchanting voice has captivated audience in both her native Ireland and abroad with her current band Bog Bodies, who you will have heard a number of times on the show. They have proven themselves to be one of Ireland's premier acts. projects over the past 3 years. Her label Invocation Records are great supporters of DruidCast, so thank you so much for sharing your artists' work with us on the show. And we will have another track from that amazing EP later on in the show. And don't forget, you can find links to the artists we feature on DruidCast in the show notes. This month's Talkie Bit is an interview with chosen chief of the order Irma Burke, hosted by Anna Oakflower, that was recorded at the recent Druid camp held in Germany. Sadly, I couldn't make it across there, but it sounds like it was another wonderful success, bringing together Druids from all across Europe and beyond. And thank you, Sven, for recording the talk, and to Anna and the camp organisers for allowing us to place the interview on the show for all you lovely listeners. The audio is a little odd for the very first few seconds, but then it settles down and is nice and clear. So grab that cuppa and enjoy this month's Talkie Bit.
The Talkie Bit.
Welcome everybody. It's great that you're all here on this Mount Thunder camp in Germany. I am Anna Oakflower, and I am a herbalist and nature coach and a member of OBOT since 2001, and being a druid in OBOT is very important to me. I am working for the community. I am part of Welt der Linden, which is a non-profit club here, organizing events for the community. And my interview partner is Irma Burke. She's chosen chief of the Order of Bards, Owains and Druids. She lives in Kilkenny, Ireland. And I find that looking her up, that she's also a priestess dedicated to Danu in the Fellowship of Isis and other groups. She's a psychologist, a celebrant and storyteller, and she plays the harp. And we hope that we can hear you tomorrow at the Esterfoot playing your harp. Yeah! Oh, you didn't bring something, but perhaps someone has a harp. No. Okay. So I've read in an interview, which you did with the Irish Times, I think, that when you were 9 years old, you found that the God the church was talking about wasn't for you, and you preferred going outside into nature and spending time in nature.
Yeah, I remember that day in class, I panicked because I thought, I'm going to hell now for having that thought. But I never lost it. So for years, I was agnostic. And I suppose I come from rural Ireland, so I spent most of my time outside, unsupervised, out in the landscape, going to the river when I was told not to go to the river, don't do that. And so just living a very rural, kind of wild, being out in nature kind of life. So, and I remained an agnostic until I started getting interested in kind of, I met a Native American medicine woman. I have a very close friend who's a healer from Tanzania, and I just loved their worldview. It was so much in sync with my own worldview. And I'd had initiations with my Tanzanian friend, but they were never from my landscape. And that was one of the frustrations I had, that it's all wonderful. You can talk about buffalo calf woman, and you can, I've had initiations in Africa, various ancestral spirits, and they're great. It's lovely, but not when I'm back home in Ireland. So I was in a bookshop with my healer friend, Siobhan, in Dublin, and this book hopped out, and it was The Modern Day Druidess by Cassandra Eason. And I can't say it's the best of books. However, it was pragmatic. You can be a druid in a city, in an apartment, get 4 pot plants. Who was Uta talking about her desk in her science lab is paper clips. She creates her own wheel of the year with a container of paper clips. That your druid can be practiced anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the dark forest. It's lovely if you can be. And I really liked her pragmatic approach. And she mentioned Obot at the back of the book. And she said it was an excellent training, and that she is a solitary druid. She doesn't like groups. I thought, perfect for me. I don't like groups either. So so I went online, and I had a choice to make because I'm a psychologist. I was thinking of doing a psychotherapy. I'm a psychotherapist as well. Psychotherapy supervision training, which was going to take over a year, involve a lot of study and the course. I knew I couldn't do both, and this is the right thing to do. Yeah, but I want to do this. This is the sensible thing to do. Yeah, but I want to do this. And then I dowsed and I clicked on send for the introductory course. And as I did, this rush of energy just came right through me. And I knew it was the right thing. I got it and I couldn't wait to say, sign up for the whole thing. And then every month, waiting for the brown envelope. Some of you might never have seen a brown envelope. Some of you are in the order long enough to remember the brown envelopes. And a brown envelope in Ireland has another connotation. It's where you put bribes into a brown envelope for somebody, for politicians. But so I joined in August 2003. So the first ritual I got was for the autumn equinox. And Shaban and my late husband Howard, we were running a workshop, and it happened to be the weekend of the equinox. And we said, oh, here I have let's do this. And we did, and it went really, really well. And Shaban said, you've been given a key. And I knew I was going to get 7 more of those. He said, this is the key for this place, and you need to do them here. And if you don't, the lock will get rusty. And I did. He gave me, I was like 5 minutes in the order, and I'm leading ceremonies. So some of you say, I can't do it because I'm not blah, blah, blah. I was doing it because there was nobody else. I had to. And I did. And so it's 20 years now, every 6 weeks. And it's not all OBOD members. We started off with 3 people and then 4 and then slowly. And not everybody comes to our ceremonies identify as Druids, but the ceremonies have such a resonance for them. And we have a very, very nice community now. And then it wasn't until 2011 that I went to an OBOD gathering. I was too shy. I am very shy, by the way. And I went with a friend, and I was fine in the town hall, but she could small talk to people, and she was on Facebook with them, so many people, and all. I just died. This is so hard. And I just went and did therapy on the streets of Glastonbury to help me. And then I went to a Druid Gorset, and then that's when we sat, like things like this, sitting, having coffee, having meals together. And then took a while before I actually fell part of OBOD. And then I haven't missed a gathering since.
Oh, wonderful. And I think it's a story we all can relate to because it's very similar to our own stories. Yeah, it's great. So what is important for you about OBOD or in OBOD?
Oh, I think the freedom to be. And I think, it starts off in the bardic grade. And if this feels right for you, you may like to try this. And you have a practicum. And then you're invited to write a reflection. And, at the bardic initiation, JJ will know the words verbatim, I know. But generally the gist is you come of your own free will and you are free to leave whenever you wish. And that, is so the opposite to any kind of cult. And that each person's journey is their own. And it's not about racing through the Gwers and getting everything done in 1 year or getting all 3 grades done in 3 years. It's taking your time. I took 6 years in my bardic grade because I didn't want to be a bard, because I wanted to be an ovate and doing all those ovatey things. Anyway, and I didn't start telling stories until I had completed my review. So everybody has a different path. And that's what I love. That allowing people their own individuality, so you can bring your other spiritual values, all the other crazy stuff that you do, that you weave in and make sense of it in your life and weave it into your Druidic practice. Because, I don't know how a Druid is meant to behave. We have our template, we have our ovate, our OBOD ceremonies, but they're guides. So when you get that ritual book, that's our guide either for a solo ritual or a group ritual there. And to make of the Wheel of the Year as we see fit now, because we're all on the Northern Hemisphere here, so it's fairly easy-ish. But my friend Marcus, who's in Italy, he doesn't do his harvest until November. After, so it's about finding it yourself and makes sense, and that's what I love. Also, the diversity. We've all sorts of people, weird and wonderful people, regardless of gender, color, creed, whatever, or spiritual values. That we are allowed. There's no dogma, and I think that huge freedom. I think that's one of our strengths. I think it's probably why we're the largest order in the world. That it allows that freedom. If you're looking for certainty, you're on the wrong bus, because there are no OBOD rules. You have to work those things out for yourself. But there's also that sense of self-responsibility. You take responsibility for your actions. You can't say the order made me do it, or God made me, or Cernunnos did, or Epona, or whoever you're working with. You take responsibility for your actions. And again, you're free to be a meat eater, a non-meat eater, whatever it is, that you make sense of your world and your life and take responsibility. And that freedom is huge, particularly in the last 4 years when there was so much losses of freedom, both physically, but also almost like freedom of thought. That, there's a buzzard. That we need to hold on to our freedom of thinking and allowing each other freedom of thought and freedom of opinion, and not getting offended by people's different opinions. Social media kind of takes a bit of that away from us. We need to be careful as Druids, because we spend so much time online, that we still respect the freedom of people to express views that we do not like and that we do not agree with, and to cope with being offended, because we don't have a right not to be offended, without being offensive ourselves, of course. Anyway.
Yeah, now that you mention social media, the pandemic did change a lot for us. And one of the big changes we have seen since the pandemic is going into this online world more and more. And it's wonderful that it connects us all around the world easily. But I think that, there are also problems with it. And Druidry is such a nature-based, or nature is so important for Druids. And especially when you started being a chosen chief, the pandemic came and you had to jump right into this problem, finding balance between both of them. How do you cope with that?
When I joined the order, I knew there was a Druid's Head pub. Is that right? The message board thing. And I thought, absolutely no way. Druids don't do that. And eventually, when I became chosen chief, I got a password for the message board. That's my idea of hell, by the way. And Facebook messages. But I thought, you can't do this. Okay, but people want to see, fine. And I thought, no, I'm a psychologist. I was never going to work online with clients. You can't do that. You have to be face-to-face, and you have to pick up all the nuances and the subtleties, blah, blah, blah. Nor can you do a ritual online, because, it cheapens it. The technology interferes. We have to be out in nature, blah, blah, blah. And then we didn't have a choice. And then I started doing online ceremonies before I became chosen chief, because our lockdown started in March. And it worked. People said, actually, it worked. And I thought that was really interesting. Well, of course, what do you start doing? One of the first practicums you do on the bardic grade is what? After the sacred grove, exactly. It's before that. It's your inner grove. And it's all about your inner world, as well as, it's easy connect out there, but it's how do you develop a rich inner world? And if you can do that, and this is like what Cassandra Easton said, you can be in a city and you can have your grove, or you can be in a prison cell, or wherever you are. But once you're free in here, and I thought these are really, really interesting lessons for us being trapped as we were in those times. And then when Dave the Bard, curated, and choreographed that wonderful installation ceremony, there were files going back and forth from him and Philip and Stephanie to me. Philip and Stephanie would have been recording, say, chanting the Awen. Then I would have to listen to that, and then in earphones, and then chant in harmony with them, send that back, and then something else had to come back. And I didn't hear the final thing until the actual ceremony. And I was sitting in my sitting room with my family and some friends, and I was there the night before with Philip. My laptop wasn't working, so I had him in my hand on my phone as he was lighting a candle. I don't know if any of you remember, he lit a candle and he said, send this light around the world. And he handed something to me. I could feel it. It was just fascinating. And then the next day when the installation, I was in tears. It was really, really profound. And I had friends there who were not Druids, and one who's rather skeptical. He said, because, it was a meditation. We all go into the grove, etc. He said, I was there. I could see it all happening. It was so profound. And I knew then this was the way it was meant to happen. I might have been distracted by the physical presence of people, but I actually could feel the mantle being handed over to me from Philip. And it was really, really profound. And I thought, but that's exactly what we do. We work on the inner plane as well as the outer plane. And it didn't take from it. Plus, many people got to hear it. More people got to hear it. Even my mother, who was very disappointed with me up to then, being a Druid and not being a Catholic, she said it was beautiful. I mean, she's worried for years that I'm going to hell, and she as well, because she's failed with me. She doesn't worry anymore. That was really profound. And that was because technology allowed that to happen. And then I was worried. Philip is such a hard act to follow. As you all know, Philip, most of you, I assume, know him. I thought, he's a prolific writer. He's a great talker. He's incredibly patient. And I thought, anyway, COVID happened. So then a new OBOD emerged, because people were asking me beforehand, maybe 2019. Tim, you interviewed me, didn't you? Where's Tim? Yeah, I'm here. You were asking me questions, and people had fed questions to you, and it might have been you, but I know some Americans, or somebody had asked me, what changes am I going to bring to the order? And I thought, I have no idea. It wasn't an order that needed changing, in my view, because it wasn't a sick organization. Often when somebody takes over in a leadership role, they have to clean up stuff or get rid of things. And that wasn't my experience of OBOD, not in the organization that I was a member of. So I had nothing to fix, in my view. And I thought, I've never been goal-oriented, as in, I can see the path straight ahead and this is going to happen, because I've meandered, I've spiraled around, things have evolved, opportunities have come my way. It was never my intention to be a Druid, never my intention, even to be a psychologist or a storyteller or a harp player. None of these were in my plan, but they evolved. So I remember talking to Philip about this, and he said, I don't know what changes. Things happen. It evolved in his time. Now, but I can't take anyone on the hearth. You like it? I take no credit for that. This was not my idea. I couldn't. My brain doesn't work like that. Just even imagine or envisage it. But it was between. I don't know who's guilty. Dave was one of the guilty ones, and Matthew and maybe Philip a little bit. But then the wonderful staff have just created that beautiful visual space for us. So then people asked for online ceremony. So we started, and then I started the fireside chats, and it was Ava from Belgium. She was in my house and in a little courtyard I have, and she said, oh, this would be lovely to have a chat with a Druid. And I go, ha, ha, ha. I don't have good internet. That wouldn't be, and I couldn't do that. That's a stupid idea. Nobody in the business. And I said to Philip, and he said, go for it. So we'd agreed I was going to do 6 sessions, and then he was going to do 6 sessions interviewing members about their books. And then after the 6th, he said, do you want to give up? I said, no. So anyway, it's going on since. And that has been really interesting, because prior to COVID, I hadn't appreciated, given that I live in Ireland and going over at least 4 times a year to the UK, that for me, my Druidic practice and the order for me is about physically meeting people. But so many of our members, particularly in the US and Australia, where they're not free to come out and say they're Druids, family work-wise, or the region in which they live, or the distances are so vast that they're very isolated. And so many people whom we've had meetups online, we've had a climate listening circle, we have a death cafe, we have the mental health group, the online ceremonies. And so often I read the comments, and they say, this is my first time ever at an OBOD ceremony or a Druid ceremony. Oh my God, I've met people for the first time. This is so lovely. I feel safe here. I now find we have a community. So as the membership has grown, and the rate of membership doubled from 2020, I'd like to think it was because of me. It wasn't. It was because of, I think, the pandemic and climate change and the way the world is going, people wanting a spiritual path, such as Druidry. But the rate of membership doubled every month. And so as we expanded in numbers, the sense of community got closer. And that's one of those paradoxes. we haven't gone too big, because somehow that's one of the things about online, gives us that sense of community. And that has been a lifeline for so many people, where we are very, very privileged and very, very lucky to be able to meet, as my daughter used to say, in real. And where all of these online stuff works very, very well, there's no substitute for being physically present. But it's both and, it's not either or. And I think that's the beauty of it. And so we, as an order, have gone very, very well with the times and with the changes in the world. And so when the hearth came up, I don't know if many, are all of you on the hearth? Are there people who do know? Is there anyone here who doesn't know what I'm talking about? Did you want to put your hand up? Okay. So that is a hub, because with GDPR and all of that stuff, we need to have a place where we can communicate safely. And this is it. And there is this feed thing in the middle, which stresses me, and I don't like it, because that's the Facebooky messages stuff that I can't cope with. But there are all these circles. It's a very good way of finding out information. I did one workshop on the Finn McCool story a few weeks back, but the sense of the intimacy of it is really, really interesting. So the fireside chats, the first 45 minutes are public, and then we move over to the hearth, and it physically feels different, that more intimate. It's things we can say things there, or put things in the comments that feel a little bit safer. So it's around bringing us together closer, and that this is where the members support it, because it's, I suppose it's an expensive thing to run, and it's been free until I think November. And then for the price of a cup of coffee a month, people are asked to support it, and you get touched on. And then for those who are new, we say just on the Bardic range, you can access all your course through there. So I think there'll be something for everybody there. Not every part of it will suit you. Like the message thing doesn't suit me. I find that really stressful trying to find something on it. But to be able to work with a circle and dispense information, it works really, really well. So it's about, we move with the times, and it doesn't stop us from being out. It's not an either or, it's a both and. And that's why having camps like this, we're very, very lucky to do that.
It's wonderful being surrounded by nature so much as we are here.
And it struck me yesterday at the ritual. Usually in large rituals, we're in the Tor and you're competing with the wind, and all the words run down the hill. And here we were in a cauldron of trees, and there was no wind to compete with. It was still, and I could hear everything. And I was just really struck the ease with which I could hear things and hear the spoken word, because people have different, tones and pitches and things like that. And it was beautiful to be in that space yesterday doing that ritual.
Yeah, definitely. It was wonderful. And it was a beautiful ritual. And you were storytelling.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. It's something you like to do. And you said you just had a workshop on storytelling, or a story. And you're bringing all these Irish stories into Obod or into Druidry, because, well, when the modern history of Druidry begins with the Welshmen, with Iolo Morganwg, and it feels like there's a lot of Welsh history or Welsh mythology in the Gwersi, or even in Druidry. And you being Irish, you suddenly bring all those. You're enriching all of this. And how does it's definitely also changing something. And how does that feel, bringing all this? Or
it's good, because and this, I don't know how you being this part of the world, one of the frustrations for me was the Welsh myths. Nothing wrong with the Welsh myths, but I thought, I don't know enough about my own. And I thought, I can't be looking at those until I actually look at my own again. So I was I was educated by nuns, Roman Catholic nuns. But it was from them I heard about Druids. I learned the myths and legends in primary school. So I thought, I need to revisit those. And I got stuck. So the Lugh story, it's only one part of the second battle of Moytura. And there's layers and layers, and you can go here, 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 all over the place. But you also have your own, say in Germany, you have the Nibelung,
Yeah.
and others that you need to find your own mythology. And it's both and, it's not either or. And when you can place yourself within your own mythological context and find the places where these stories took place, it's very, very rich. And I think that's where my passion is. So Sean O'Guihin and I, he's an OBOT member, we led a retreat recently. We did one 2 years ago in Donegal, where Birog, that story takes place. We went to Tory Island. This is where the tower was. This is where Balor had his fort. This is Birog's cave. This is her rock. This is where this happened, that happened. And to be able to tell a story and then walk the landscape is really profound. And I assume you can do the same here I know that we have Dutch people here as well, whether you have Dutch mythology or the Belgians, whatever it is, finding that animates your Druidic practice. So for me, people used to criticize me, oh, that's an English order. Why are you Irish, being in an English order? And I said, it's not the English bit. It's my landscape speaks to me. It tells me about Druidry. It tells me about my worldview. It tells me where my soul is. And it's walking my landscape. And you walk your landscape and find that. And, the genius loci is very, very important, the spirit of place. How does that spirit speak to you? And you might be, both of you, or two of you in the one place, but you get different voices or it speaks to you in different ways. And that is so beautiful because we don't have dogma. So there's so much freedom to be a Druid, but working with myth, working with stories. So the workshop this morning was brilliant. We had 24 brilliant storytellers in the room or in the tent. And it was so much fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to the participants' stories. It was so much fun and really, really creative and silly and magical, which is what story is. It's about myths are not facts, but they don't contain facts, but they contain truths. And it's about finding those and actually joy. And one of the things I love about Druidry, it's a joyful spiritual path. We have the gravitas, we have the solemnity to hold a ritual, but we also have the joy for fun, laughter, lightness, taking our beliefs lightly, walking the landscape lightly. I think it's very, and that Druidry allows that. Because we don't have a hell to go to, we don't have a judgment day, and maybe we have heaven here. I forget those words, but you know what I mean. It's about living with joy and having the gravitas to stay grounded on the earth. It's very earth-based. When I started on this spiritual path of mine, I wanted to be up there, astral traveling and all this kind of stuff. And somebody said, you need to slow down because you may have noticed I speak quickly and I walk quickly. And I didn't know what they meant. I just could not get. And I'm grounded now, and that's where we need to walk. Have the gravity and the gravitas to walk on the earth, but do it lightly. And it's the nuances between gravity and lightness and walking that path. A bit like having, 1 foot in this world and 1 foot in the other, walking that. So it's between the inner and the outer, and then there's not so much the upper and the lower, but being really grounded is very important. And only you can do that when you connect with your landscape, wherever that landscape is. And finding your soul there and finding your place.
Yeah, that's a big importance about what Druidry is about.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the connection to nature, which,
Mm-hmm.
And if you find that strength, it's easy to go online and connect with other Druids and talk about this. Our connectedness to the nature and the landscape around us.
Yeah. Not everybody's, but we have an anchor, something we'll not say anymore. Those who know what I'm saying, but you need to be anchored. And I think when you're anchored, then you can go online, then you can do all of that stuff. But you need to have that. I don't know if many of you have done shamanic journeys, but if you do, you have a starting point. It could be the roots of a tree or the entrance to a cave or some place that you recognize. I leave the ordinary world from this point and this is the place to which I return. You leave your front door, if you have, I assume everybody has a front door, even if it's in an apartment block. You leave that, and you know that's where you come back to in the evening. We all need to know that. We need a secure base. Psychologically, we need a secure base, and spiritually, we need a secure base from which to travel, from which to take off, and to which we return. Like, I live in Kilkenny. I'm not from there. I wasn't born there. The place where I was born, I never felt I belonged. And then I went to Kilkenny. I belong there. It does not belong to me, but I belong there. And it's about finding your soul in your landscape. I mean, some of you may be in the place of your birth, others you have moved, but it's finding that place. And hopefully you can be at peace in the place you live. Not everybody is, unfortunately, but it's about finding that.
That's beautifully said. Yeah, very important. So there are a lot of books on Druidry and Druidry and women, and you mentioned Cassandra Easton with a Druidress book on Druidress.
Modern day Druidess.
A modern day Druidress, and there's also an yearly online event about women in Druidry, and Carrie is taking part of that everywhere. And you stand in a long line of tradition of men. Druid, yeah. You're not the first person who's leading a modern Druid order or a well-known order, but you're the first in this long line of Druids who've come before you. And how does that feel, being a woman in that line of men?
I'm not in awe of that, and I'm not surprised. And it's almost like I don't think about it particularly.
Yep.
Simply, so Obod is, has very much a flat hierarchy. There's 3 people at the top. There have always been 2 women at the top. Only one could be a chosen chief. So Ross Nichols was the first chosen chief. Marjorie, do you know her surname? She was the first scribe, and Vera Chapman was the first Pendragon. Yeah, so 2. Then Vera passed that. Then Stephanie became scribe, and then Vera Chapman handed it over to Will Worthington. Then there was 1 at the top, but there's always been at least 1 woman at the top, and now there's 2 again. So there hasn't been an issue within the order around, needing. Real Druids wear lipstick, by the way. I hope you've noticed. And white beards are passé. Sorry, lads. And it's interesting in the Irish mythology. There's Birog, who's a Druid, and she's mentioned in the texts. There is in the Táin, when Queen Maeve is going with her soldiers from Connacht, is going to the battle with Ulster. She meets Fidel, who is a seer, and she's just come from Alba, Scotland, studying seership, and she makes a prophecy. There are 2 other Druidesses, Ethna and Fidelma, and there was a bit of religious spin on this, that they met St. Patrick and he baptized them, and then they died and they went straight to heaven and they were very happy after that. Don't believe that one. But there are mentions of Druids, female Druids, in the mythology. Now, there are not many mentions. However, when you think there are not many mentions of women in anything, and they've been, excluded from history. So shoot. Well, even music, when I did music at school and learned about all the great composers, and I never heard of Clara Schumann or Fanny Mendelssohn or how many others. And I know these were composers in their own right. So it was just because they weren't mentioned. It wasn't that they didn't exist. So absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So it's about. I mean, when it was announced, people were saying, "Oh, this is wonderful, standing up for women's rights," blah blah blah. I didn't feel that was a necessary fight or battle within the order.
Yeah,
because we do welcome diversity, When you look at even we have Quobod, for example, the queer Obod.
Mm-hmm.
We have, gay people, trans people, anyone anywhere on that queer spectrum, welcomed, active. It's not an issue. There's no need to fight within the order. Maybe fights are outside, but within the order it hasn't. And that's something I really, really value. So, in fact, I'm a woman, neither here nor there. Sorry.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, I think it's interesting that there are stories about Druidess even from the Roman times, because the Romans were so male centered and all of that. So, yeah, there always have been important women in that in that thing. Yeah. So where do you like Obot? Where do you like to see Obot is going? Or
That's the question I always hate.
yeah, okay. Then we just leave it out. And
On the straight and narrow path.
yeah. So
We're going to get rid of spirals, okay? Straight and narrow.
what
I don't know where it's going. I'm not it will evolve the way it does. When you look at, they've been kind of dipped in a number of conversations, where the main churches have dropped. They're on their decline because of a lot of the shenanigans and behaviors and things like that. And then in other pockets, fundamentalist religions are coming up. But, things go, this too shall pass. I told a story at the summer gathering, Nil tilla doved not drawn. There is no flood that does not recede. In other words, this too shall pass. So, we're glowing and blooming and glistening and glittering and glimmering and all that kind of thing as Druids. I don't know if we'll be like that forever. Who knows? Things go up and down. Druids were at their prime before, and then they fell into decline and maybe went underground, and that may happen again. The important thing is, how are we living our present now? Is Linda here? She's not. Oh, she's not here. Anyway, was it she that was calling me an ancestor? I said, I'm not dead yet, but I'm preparing for it. So I suppose it's now, how do we live our lives so that we are leaving a nice legacy behind and behaving as good ancestors? Not all of our ancestors are good. Not all of our ancestors have behaved. And often if you're listening to Indigenous people, they're talking about honouring the ancestors, and they were all wonderful and they were so in touch with nature. And that may have been the case. But then there are others, Inca people who engage in sacrifice weren't always kind of the best. There's been oppression and abuse everywhere. And there is a Balor in all of us, as there is a Lu and an Ethna and a Birog. And we need to allow those voices to speak and to hear each other. It's easy to polarize. Balor's bad, Lu is good. They're in all of us. And unless we engage in a conversation with those, we're hiding to nothing. Then we're no better than any of the religions who've always said theirs was the one true. I grew up Roman Catholic, the one true Catholic Church. Without a doubt. And anyone else who comes from a fundamentalist religious background will have learned the same, and that doesn't work. So it's about embracing those archetypes within ourselves. So where do I see Obot going? I think continuing to walk this path with gravity and lightness, and recognizing that we are responsible for how we live our lives, and instead of putting up a magnifying glass to other people, just put up a mirror and see how am I doing. Just I think, and continuing to do what works and stopping doing what doesn't work. If it's not working, stop, try something else. And if this is working for you, continue. And if camps like this work, continue doing it.
yes, nourishing the things that are important to us, and that work.
Yeah.
That's very beautiful. So, do you have any questions that you would like to ask Emer?
How many members are there?
About 30,000-ish, something like that. It started, I think, when Philip took over, there were 20. Because when Ross died, he died suddenly, so there was no succession. And then it kind of went into abeyance for about 8 years. And then 3 people knocked on his door in Primrose Hill and said, "We want you to lead the order." And prior to that, Newen had come to him in a dream, asking him to gather his teachings and create a correspondence course. And there were bags of documents that he found, and there was one missing. And Colin Murray, who here, like Colin Murray's own, he rang him up and said, "By the way, there's a bag here. I think it's Newen stuff." And in that contained missing pages. So Philip had that, but he didn't, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And then these 3 people come and say, "We want you to revive the order and be the chosen chief." I thought, okay, these things are fitting, coming into place. And then they revived it, and I think it was 20 members. And then they had, I don't know where you got your ad. Which of you is here the longest? Okay. Okay, you're 10 years ahead of me. So it was in 88, I think, it was revived. And they advertised in, was it The Quest and various magazines? Yeah. And so it was all of that. And then it developed. So when I took over, it was 22,000. So it's gone from that to about, 30 in just 4 years. I mean, that's huge. I mean, to Philip, we've gone from that to huge, incredible achievement. And it's that light hand leadership. And so when I was chosen, there were a number of people saying, "Why wasn't there an election? Surely Obod should be a democracy." And that would have caused so much division. And I wouldn't have gone for it. I was asked. I never wanted this. I don't know why I was asked. And I just was, okay. And then I didn't like to say no. No, I had to think about it. It wasn't my first reaction was, no, I don't want this. I never saw it coming. And then people said, "Well, I didn't choose her." But actually, how many of you voted the current government in your country? 3 hands have gone up. Okay, well, I didn't vote. You know what I mean? It's like in a democracy, you don't vote. Everybody doesn't vote for the government or whatever. So it's a great testimony to Philip and Stephanie, the 2 of them, how they worked together to create it what it is, and then to hand it to me, and I didn't have to fix anything. That's really nice.
Yeah, and I think that's also one of the big differences that usually the old, like Nguyen, he died suddenly and then there was chaos. But Philip didn't die. He's still around, and he handed it over to you. And there were beautiful ceremonies of handing over to you, one online when it first happened, and then 2 years ago.
It's to his credit that, he thought about it. And I remember 6 weeks before he asked me, he was over in Ireland and we were doing some work together. And I said, somehow we've been talking about the Fellowship of Isis and succession. And I said, "Have you ever thought about succession in the order?" And he blanked me. And I thought, oh, shit. It's a bit like saying, when you die, what's going to happen? And I thought, I shouldn't have asked that. That was just a step too far. And 6 weeks later, he asked me to be. But that had been decided a few years before. So I just didn't do it at that time. It wasn't the time to ask. And I remember thinking, you need to prepare people. People are going to be really, really upset. Adrian and I had a conversation in my kitchen a few weeks before the announcement was made. And he was saying, I owe so much to Philip. And just to be honest, I don't know what Obod would be like without Philip's chosen chief. And I said, yeah, I agree with you. But I couldn't tell him. But I did agree with him. And But he did such a good job preparing people, and the rationale in the town hall in 2018, that by the time he got to who, people understood the why, and it was easier for them to hear it. So, and that's leadership. So I owe him a lot. So, yeah, and Stephanie.
For yourself, do you have a sense of how long are you going to see it through until you get senile or
Whichever comes first, is that what you mean? When I was asked, I wasn't given any time limit. I thought between 7 and 9 years. So that still stands. And if I get really power hungry, I mightn't hand it over. And Philip was just short of... Robert Mugabe was in power for 37 years. Philip was there for 32. So it doesn't come with a time limit. But I do need to have a successor before I step down. So, yeah. How old am I? I'm 84. I'm 85 next week. I've had a lot of work done. And it's all got to do with visualization and meditating with the trees every day, being grounded, walking lightly, light body exercise, yeah. Avoids wrinkles and never wearing high shoes. High shoes give you wrinkles because you spend all the time going, oh God, these are killing me. And they make wrinkles. So that's the. So I've done 4 years, so 5 years maybe. If you're still nice and don't piss me off, I'll stay the 9. And yeah, so I mean I'll be 70, so it's old enough. I'll be 65 next week. But yeah.
Yes, but thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Okay.
Come, child, open your eyes and see. Come, child, open your mind and seek the need. Don't run away, you know the way. Don't run away, the world is a forgotten world, there's so much more to know. Seek and find the answers that lie in the earth in your body below. Don't run away, don't run away. I await for you to fall into the depths of the unknown.
That was Come Child, another fabulous song from the EP from Dovan. Such an incredible voice, and the rest of the EP is fantastic too. So make sure to have a listen to the rest of the songs. Well, my friends, this music means we're approaching the end of the show, but before I go, let's have the results of last month's competition. The prize was a copy of Nymphia's book and CD set, What Have I Forgotten? And the question I asked was, what was the song by Jefferson Airplane that inspired Nymphia on her path? Well, the answer is White Rabbit, and the first name drawn from the hat and winner of that book and CD set is Mickey McDermott from Illinois. Congratulations, Mickey. Now, I had planned to go and see Nymphia in Brighton, but sadly I came down with a cold, and the last thing she needed was for me to pass that on to her and the rest of the band right at the beginning of the tour. So I didn't get there that night to pick up the book and CD set. We will, I'm sure, work out a way to get that set to you, Mickey, but it might just take a little longer to reach you than usual. The prize this month is a copy of the book that inspired Irma to follow the Druid path, The Modern Day Druidess by Cassandra Eason. Now, the book is out of print, but we have found a good quality used copy as a prize, and the question I'd like you to answer is, in Irish mythology, what is the name of the famous hero that led the Fianna? In Irish mythology, what was the name of the famous hero that led the Fianna? Email your answer along with your full postal address to podcast@druidry.org, and one of you will win that book. And please be assured that we do not use your information for anything other than posting out that prize. Once it has been sent, every email you send in has been deleted. Well, that is a show. I wish you all a blessed equinox, be that welcoming the autumn here in the northern hemisphere or the spring to all you lovely listeners in the southern hemisphere. I will see you next month for episode 208, but until then, I wish you all peace and blessed be. Goodbye.